This book was first written in Marathi under the title Achyut Athawale आणि आठवण. Then it has been translated. It was written in 2001, published in 2002. It was translated in the due course of time and published by Penguin in 2012. It is very difficult to say about any complex novel exactly what the book is about, because these kind of synopsises always, or at least can at times, mislead what exactly is in the book. But still, to get some idea about the book before one reads the book, there is no better alternative. So in short, it's a book about an intellectual, a retired economist from Pune, but he is a very multifaceted personality. He has interest in theatre and social activities, political movements, philosophy, and all sorts of other things. Naturally, he is also engaged with the society in many different ways. He is a very typical person of above 60 or nearing 70, who is not at all trying to stay in the past, who doesn't want to be nostalgic, but who wants to look ahead, who wants to change with the society, who wants to actively play a role in changing the society. So he is not a cynic person, he is a multifaceted person, and he is the protagonist of the novel. There are many other characters, plots, subplots. This is basically a novel that is written with a technique which resembles the 19th century Marathi novel. This has come in handy, or has been employed basically because it facilitates direct exchange between author and the reader, because then you can address straight away, my dear readers, or my wise readers, my beautiful readers, etc. This is a very, in my opinion, a funny novel. It is full of humor, though a very serious novel. Basically, it is a political novel. One cannot, it is black, it is dark, but you cannot call it a black comedy. I would say one can term my recent writing, or my writing from last 10 years, as a comedy talking about black things in society, but black aspects of society, black side of society, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't transfer the responsibility to a particular category or class of people like black comedy does. Like black comedy has, black comedy targets, say, politicians or builders, or I mean any class, any caste, something like that. Whereas a white comedy, while commenting or while pointing out, while finding out meanings of the darker sides of the society, is very introspective. It doesn't spare itself or spare oneself. Story in short is that this Achyut Athawale once says something in a lecture which sparks of a riot. We see so many riots, so many identity politics are riots. The novel is about identity politics. So there is a shift from ideological politics to identity politics, which is growing and which is further fragmenting and dividing the society. It is fragmenting the individual, the personalities, the psychology. I mean, there are all sorts of fragmentations developing. So he then decides to go to in short, he goes first to an old age home. Then from there, at that point, he loses memory because of some event happening in his life. There is a person whom he knows from his earlier life. He regains his memory, but the other person denies to recognize him, and he kills the person, owns up the crime, and tries to go to the jail. But entire media and the Dalit groups and everybody who has helped him is totally, they are totally in unison in trying to save him from that. They say, no, he committed that crime when he when he was not aware of what he was doing, or he committed the crime when he had lost his memory. And there are many complications again, because a riot has taken place near the old age home where a Dalit person is supposed to have raped an upper caste woman, and Achyut has claimed that that person was with him, so he could not have committed the crime. Now there is a question whether Achyut had memory or had lost memory at that time. Through such complications, the novel treads, it's impossible to give all the brief in this brief synopsis. See, actually, now I have been writing for last nearly 25 years. So these ideas go on developing. This is not. It is not as if it's a novel. It's not a play. In a play, I write plays also. In a play, normally you have to work like in short bursts of energies. It's a very structured kind of thing, though a play also can be extremely complex. But novels can have more subplots, novels can have more angles, novels are supposed to have many voices. A play is more pointed, a play is more like a single burst of energy. So this complex idea did not develop entirely as one idea. It is a mixture or a kind of a collage of many aspects that you feel. And as you go on writing the novel, you get a theme, you get an idea. I write my plays are theatre of ideas, my novels are novels of ideas. So you have a few ideas in your mind, you have a few characters, and as you go on weaving the novel or weaving the play, a kind of, and you need to have a story. There is no way out. You need to have story, you need to have a character. It's not necessary that you always know the end, how it will end in the story terms, whether somebody would commit suicide or not, whether somebody would leave somebody, take a divorce or not. What is important, I mean, these kind of events take a center stage in soap comedies on TV, whether the wife leaves the husband or not. In a serious novel or a serious play, that's not what is important. She may leave or she may not leave. What is important is what kind of worldview is developed, what kind of meaning of reality, meaning of social conditions and political conditions is put forth, is being developed in the novel or the play. So it's not, it doesn't happen in one. I mean, it's not concretized entirely before you start writing. You have a fairly good idea, but it goes on falling into place as you go on writing. Many a times one is surprised, the writer himself is surprised. Did I write this yesterday? Those kind of things always happen. I do not use these forms in all my novels. It has been used in this novel. In the form also, I would say it's a takeoff on only one specific part or of technique. It's not entirely like old Marathi novel in all its technical aspects. It is basically in two areas. One is where the narrator talks directly with the reader, and the second is the language of the novel. That is also in parts, it's not always. It's the language when the narrator talks directly with the audience. That part of the language is old style language. That gives me freedom to link these complex ideas, because it was expected in earlier times, like the old novels did not use it for the purpose that I use it. They used it because they wanted to communicate something directly. I use them because a novel or a play, still what is it about, etc. We are used to having a kind of rhythm of the novel or a play. It should rise to epitome and split, etc. It's a unidirectional thinking that was involved. Whereas my novels or plays, there is a background, or there is a specific reason why I do it, that I put it as a collage, because I do feel that the life is so fragmented, it's so multi-pointed or multi-directional now, It's not unilateral but multilateral. It has a series of planes, and it operates on many different levels. So it becomes easy to use this tool and to link these separate areas, to create linkages between these areas which are not in that sense linked, to address the absurd. So that helps, that I have found to be helpful in this novel. It's not necessary that I would use it in all my novels. There is one, but there is not a traditionally set draft or traditionally set. It's not that there is no chronology. It's not that there is no development of characters, but it is, as I said, it is multilateral. That the character or the story doesn't develop in one line. It may go here and then it comes back, it changes directions. One can feel where is it going suddenly, but it comes back. Like I mean, like our identities throughout today. Like I may be an architect, I may be a male, I may be an Indian born living in UK, I may be still liking my idlis, I may be interested in Western classical music, I may be a fiscal conservative, I may not want to have economy to be opened out. Now this all things have no correlation with each other, but I am a single person still. So when I am living as an architect, I am doing something. It has no relation of me being economically fiscal conservative. It has nothing to do with I having divorced my wife. It has nothing to do with me liking idlis or pizzas. So these are different frameworks coming together, but they still happen in one life itself. So in that sense, it has a rhythm, it has a linearity, but it is not single linearity, but multilateral linearity. I think what is happening in Indian literature, especially Indian English literature, is that there are two kinds of novels or literature that is coming out in English Indian literature. One is where it is exoticized. Indian conditions are exoticized, or rather three ways where the Indian conditions are exoticized. It is the Indian conditions are looked at as if a Britisher would look at us or an American person would look at us, which I totally, don't agree with. The second thing that is happening is that still the Western audience being interested in our traditions, like our dances or our music, our novels are also which attract the Western audiences, is again the rural areas, the old India idea, etc., etc. What is, or the third is the expatriate or the diaspora, which is excellent. I have nothing against it, but then that experience is again not of modern India. What this novel tries to do, actually, because of the translation, there are such novels obviously in the regional literature, whether it is Bengali, Kannada, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, or any other Indian language. Nearly till 5 years back, there was no interest in this kind of novels, though they have many a times a much richer texture, much more complex idiom, much more complex meanings, and more realistic in that sense. I am not talking about realistic in the sense of form. I mean, this real or naturalistic, or in that sense, but much more near to reality, trying to find out new modern meanings of modern India. Now, in last 5 years, we have been lucky enough that these translations are also attracting our readership, though still in small numbers, in English as well. So more and more such novels meeting the demands. See, the changes that have occurred in last 20 years probably are more than what changes took place in earlier 1,000 years. There are people in whose single life, their first 20 years were spent where there was no electricity, and now they can't work without an internet. If you see these changes, they are not only technological, they are social, they are political, they are psychological, and where we are falling short, the pace of change of social political psychological change is falling far behind the technological change. These conditions are not tackled even in the regional literature as much as it should be. It has started happening in last 5 years. There are still only handful of novels or handful of plays of this genre, but naturally now it is attracting more readership or audiences as far as theatre is concerned. But this is a change that has happened only in last 5 years. Earlier, my novels or my plays, it was quite difficult to get them translated into English and get published. But it is happening now. I'm happy for it. See, there are many reasons why this is happening. Why we are not ready to meet the modern life, that or the globalized, the fragmented, etc., etc., etc. We all know that. The problem is, the major problem that I find why it is happening is that we have compartmentalized. Indian mindset is compartmentalized into a writer need not be. I'm not talking about social consciousness. There can be socially conscious literature, committed literature, etc., etc., which falls far short of intellectual understanding of the complexity of today. I'm not talking about commitments, about social ideologies, etc., etc. I'm talking about serious intellectual, theoretical understanding of socio-political reality and the psychological reality associated with it. Somehow, majority of writers, their mindset in India is that these are compartments. We need not have the theoretical understanding of sociology, of political reality, of philosophy. I mean, when Dostoevsky writes a crime novel, like you can call it crime novel, but it's actually a philosophical novel like Crime and Punishment. He is, in a sense, talking about Nietzsche, principles of Nietzsche, and his own ideas about it. You take Milan Kundera, you take Camus, you take Sartre, you take anybody, Garcia Marquez, anybody. You cannot really compartmentalize. There is you can't really say where a sociology or philosophy ends and where creative literature starts. Unfortunately, our creative literature, I can't say all of it, but a large part of it somehow does not like to go in that direction, including the younger generation. Now, what used to happen in earlier times is that the pace of change was very slow. So automatically, from your culture, from your traditions, from whatever you heard, whatever you lived, you could understand that at least to some extent. Now, when the pace of change is so fast, it is necessary that you tackle it, you have to tackle it. One person's life experience is never enough to give you enough material as a writer. You have to empathize. You have to empathize with other people psychologically, and especially when the pace of change is so high, you need to understand intellectually, in theoretical terms, exactly what is happening to find out meanings of the changing reality on your own. I am not saying that a creative writer is writing as if he is writing a sociological or a political science essay. It should not be like that. But this, I think, comes because of most of the writers coming from high caste, middle class backgrounds. Middle class, high caste people would never really want to change the conditions. So this kind of theoretical thinking is never to their benefit. Whether consciously or unconsciously, a large amount of writing falls prey to this anti-intellectualism. But it is changing. It is changing. New writers, younger writers, at least in Marathi, which I know much more or much better than from any other language. Writers are trying. They are trying to grapple with these conditions. things are changing with our exposure to Western literature or other kind, or even Eastern literature, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, etc., or even African literature. Excellent literature is coming out from Africa. Things are changing. Whether they are changing as fast as they should or in as much number as they should, I'm not too sure. But I'm not looking at it from a very bleak. I'm not very pessimistic. I'm more optimistic about this thematic change. I'm more pessimistic about the future of our regional languages themselves, because so much more stress is on English, so much more English medium education is there that there are, I think I heard like something like 10 languages every day or 100 languages every year are vanishing from the face of the earth. Fortunately, at least 20-25 languages in India are spoken by more than 3, 4, 5, 10 crores of people, so they won't vanish so fast. Vanishing of a language is not only vanishing of a language, vanishing of a language is vanishing of a worldview, of a vision of the world, of a vision of the reality. But one really is now quite a bit worried about the existence of these languages themselves, and so existence of plural, multiple worldviews, plural, multiple visions, which make this world so interesting and make this world so democratic. Otherwise, what we are going to end up with is an American kind of standardized, shallow kind of, I mean, everybody is eating particular kind of burgers and particular kind of, wearing particular kind of clothes and talking particular kind of language. If you extend this generalization to philosophical terms, to your psychological issues, then it becomes quite fearsome, and that's what I'm a bit worried about. But I'm not worried about now new generation not being able to come to terms, still in lesser numbers, but I see some sparks coming from there.